Eastern Congo is on fire again. The M23 rebels, allegedly backed by Rwanda, are advancing, and President Felix Tshisekedi is under pressure. But the battle isn't just on the front lines. Diplomatic tensions are boiling over, and Kenya's President William Ruto is right at the center of it. Here is what we know so far on the war that has thousands fleeing.
Democratic Republic of the Congo is being illegally occupied by Rwanda.
The wake of the outbreak of war
they have captured
in the east of the
Goma,
country.
which is the Tshisekedi and Kagame are neighbors, but they are far from friends. Kinshasa accuses Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels, funding, arming, and even deploying troops in disguise as insurgents. Kigali has denied it. Kagame insists that this conflict is an internal Congolese problem rooted in historic ethnic tensions. But the reality, fighters keep pouring in, and the violence keeps escalating. The group that emerged in 2012 from a mutiny within the Congolese army. Their fighters were mostly ex-members of the National Congress for the Defense of the People, a former rebel group backed by Rwanda. When the DRC government failed to honor a peace deal, they rebelled again, naming themselves the March 23 movement, or as we call it now, M23. M23 is largely composed of Tutsi fighters, just like Rwanda's ruling party. This fuels accusations that Kagame is pulling the strings, though, as I noted earlier, Kigali has denied it. But here is the key misconception. Not all Congolese Tutsis support the M23, and not all rebels are Tutsi. The conflict is political and not just ethnic. M23 claims they are fighting for the rights of Congolese Tutsi, saying Kinshasa has marginalized them. This conflict, which dates back to the time of Mobutu Sese Seko, has claimed 6 million lives since 1996, and the latest escalation has left thousands displaced in eastern Congo. The DRC-Rwanda tensions stretch back decades, fueled by post-genocidal migrations, militia groups, and endless power struggles. Now, as M23 gains ground, Kinshasa blames Kigali, and Kagame has fired back, calling out African leaders for mishandling the crisis. Those leaders include President Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, the chairperson of the East African Community, wants to mediate, but Tshisekedi isn't having it. Let me explain. Nairobi and Kinshasa have been on shaky grounds ever since Kenya sent peacekeeping troops under the East African Community Regional Force to DRC. Congo accused the mission of being too soft on M23. When Ruto pushed for talks, Kinshasa saw it as an appeasement. Now later, Tshisekedi refused to renew Kenyan-led forces' mandate and kicked them out in December. Ruto this week called for an emergency summit. This emergency summit was to discuss the escalating violence in eastern DRC. Tshisekedi snubbed the meeting, citing a conflict of schedule. Instead, he is leaning on Angola and the South African Development Community troops, signaling a shift from Nairobi's influence at the EAC. Publicly, Ruto has avoided calling out Rwanda over the M23 accusations, a sharp contrast to Tshisekedi's aggressive stance. This has fueled suspicions in Kinshasa that Nairobi is taking a softer line on Kigali, something that has only deepened the mistrust. Kagame, meanwhile, isn't holding back. He's criticized the entire African response to the DRC crisis, implying that leaders like Ruto are part of the problem, not the solution.
We are on one hand assuming or pretending we are coming together over an issue and trying to find a solution, while at the same time each country is pulling in its own direction, different from the others.
So, what's next? With Goma under threat, diplomatic efforts are in limbo, and protests erupting against foreign embassies including Kenya and the US, the crisis seems to be deepening. Nairobi finds itself caught in a tight spot, pushed too hard against Kigali, and relations with Rwanda suffer. But go too soft, and Kinshasa keeps Ruto at arm's length. Tshisekedi is betting on a military force. Kagame is playing the long game, and Ruto, Well, he's struggling to keep his influence alive in a conflict that's spinning out of control. The DRC crisis is about more than just rebels and territory. It's a political power play involving regional heavyweights, including South Africa. The prize is a say in the mineral-rich eastern DRC. All the while, thousands of Congolese are now forced to live in camps as the fighting continues. For now, there is an expectation that a meeting between EAC heads of states and the heads of states from the South African Development Community will be meeting soon to mediate for a lasting solution. Keep it here at Kenyans.co.ke for more details on this and more stories. I'm Monica.